There is so much going on in the world right now. And as is often the case, one or two stories dominate the news. And sometimes that's as it should be. And sometimes that doesn't mean that we should stop paying attention to other things. So while the Jeffrey Epstein file debacle, which is a crisis wholly created by Donald Trump himself, continues to lead every TV show and is above the fold in practically every national newspaper. There are things that we do lose sight of. For example, we're not hearing nearly enough about the people who were illegally and unconstitutionally detained and who had their rights to due process terminated by the Trump regime. We're not hearing about where they are, how they are, what this government is going to do to them if allowed. We're hearing very little, if anything, about what's happening at the Department of Education, which, as you know, the Trump regime wants to dismantle entirely, and the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court allowed the Trump regime to make that decision. Or I should say, is allowing the Trump regime to do just that, which will have repercussions, the likes of which, to coin a phrase, we cannot possibly imagine. So yes, many, 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 many things continue to go under the radar, don't get the attention they deserve. And what does that mean for us? Well, that means that the Trump regime is dismantling our government in ways we're not aware. So the other thing that's not getting nearly enough attention and has just seemed to gone by the wayside entirely is what is happening at the Department of Health and Human Services and all of the agencies underneath that umbrella, like the Centers for Disease Control and the National Institutes of Health, led by, if you want to call it that, the execrable Robert Kennedy. The HHS is doing untold damage to the ways in which this country researches and fights against diseases. Diseases which had actually been eradicated are making a comeback, like measles, for example. Polio may be just around the corner. And it's as if COVID just doesn't exist anymore. So, we've also heard that there may not be a flu vaccine this year. So I'm bringing this up, COVID up specifically, because I have COVID. I tested positive about a week ago, I guess. It's the second time I've had COVID. I didn't have it for almost 4 years. I got it last August because I unfortunately wish I hadn't gone to the DNC in Chicago. And out of the 25,000 people there, I was one of maybe 5 people wearing a mask. So I think everybody should still be wearing masks in enclosed, crowded spaces, airplanes, trains, subways, stores, what have you. But if you're the only person in a crowded room or plane or arena wearing a mask, it's not going to help you very much. Anyway, I was extremely sick for about 2 weeks. I don't think I could get out of bed for 2 weeks. And then I had COVID brain fog for a couple of weeks after that. This is comparatively nothing. But, still COVID, and it's a wily disease that has had many incarnations. The latest strain is something called razor throat. Luckily, I did not get that strain. So my symptoms were very mild. Headache, low-grade fever, mostly exhaustion. I'm still quite exhausted. Luckily, COVID is still covered by insurance, so I had a $25 Paxlovid is what I meant to say, is covered by insurance, and it was a $25 copay, However, COVID tests you have to pay for now. Remember when we used to get them sent to us for free by the federal government? I don't believe that's a thing anymore. And every COVID test is about $20, $25. I don't remember exactly, but it's not nothing. And again, remembering how sick I was last time and knowing that Paxlovid rebound is a thing, and that if you get COVID again after having taken the first course of Paxlovid, you can get much sicker. I was thinking about, if I really felt that I needed to, getting another course of Paxlovid. So I finished my last dose of the first course yesterday, and I'm feeling well enough today. I'm very, very, very tired, and I have a very slight fever, but no other symptoms. So I don't necessarily think it's necessary. I want to get another course of Paxlovid, but some people who get COVID, because a lot of people are still getting COVID, might want to. Here's the thing, though. Insurance doesn't cover it. And one package of Paxlovid with 5 pills costs $2,000 out of pocket. Now, to be fair, this is not because of the Trump regime. That was the case back in August of 2024. It's just another sign of how broken our healthcare system is, considering that COVID can still be a very dangerous disease, especially for those people who continue not to get vaccinated. And that number, or booster shots, and that number will continue to rise with Robert Kennedy at the Department of Health and Human Services. Now it's summer now, so most everybody's outside. I believe I probably got it because I was on planes a lot and I was at a concert. But winter is not far around the corner. So what's going to happen when that's the case? And what's going to happen when there is another booster shot prepared for razor throat, but it isn't made available because Robert Kennedy doesn't believe in vaccinating people? And I think one of the things that this has me thinking is that COVID is literally a disease that should not have ever been allowed to exist. This is a disease that could have been eradicated very shortly after it made its way into our world. But because so many people abdicated their responsibilities, because so many people were convinced that somehow wearing a mask made you some leftist commie, here we are. People still getting sick from a disease that never should have existed during an administration that will do absolutely nothing to help them. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's episode of Marriage Trump Live. It is so good to be back with you. I can't say I've missed being here because I was basically unconscious, but had I been conscious, I would have missed being here. I just want to thank all of my amazing guest hosts for doing such a phenomenal job. In some cases at the last minute, because I kept hoping I was going to be well enough to do the show. So Tara Setmeyer, Katie Fang, Wajahad Ali, Brian Karam, I can't thank all of them enough. And I thank all of you who tuned in and supported their phenomenal work. Okay. Speaking of, actually, no, there's no segue to that because I was talking about amazing, phenomenal, talented, dedicated human beings with integrity. And now we're going to be talking about Donald and Jeffrey Epstein. So yes, diametric opposite to the kinds of people I was talking about. So Donald, as we knew all along, and yet for tens of millions of Americans, it didn't matter, had a long-standing friendship with a convicted sex offender, one Jeffrey Epstein. Donald's office mishandled the case, and it continues to haunt him. And what I mean by mishandling, during the campaign, Donald made it a central issue that he was the only person on the planet who had the decency and the moral fortitude to release the Jeffrey Epstein's files. Why? Because he believed, or at least pretended to believe, to those who believe him, that those implicated were at the upper echelons of the Democratic Party. Because Donald got back into office and he did not make good on that promise. I cannot believe that he lied. Anyway, some people, you can fool them all the time. According to NBC News, a whistleblower inside the FBI has come forward to Senator Dick Durbin, the top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee. The whistleblower says FBI personnel reviewing over 100,000 Epstein-related documents were told to flag any record that mentioned Donald by name. That's not suspicious at all, is it? I know I'm sick, so I'm not sure if this is coming across properly. I was being very sarcastic. Just want to be clear. In response, Senator Durbin sent oversight letters to Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. In those letters, he directly questions whether Bondi, quote unquote, pressured Patel to carry out the task of protecting Donald's name. Durbin writes in part, quote, "My office was told that these personnel were instructed to flag any records in which Donald was mentioned. Why were personnel told to flag records in which Donald was mentioned? What happened to the records mentioning Donald once they were flagged?" Unquote. All very good questions. And when asked about this very issue today, Press Secretary, the execrable Ava Brown, I'm so sorry. I always get them mixed up. Caroline Leavitt clearly had a packaged response ready to go.
President Trump or the FBI agents going through the Epstein files were told to flag President Trump's name if it came up. Is that something the president was aware of, or something that he directed those agents or the Department of Justice to do?
I don't believe that's something the White House was aware of. You'd have to ask the FBI.
Has the president just ordered the FBI to release the full Epstein files, just get it all out there?
The president has said if the Department of Justice and the FBI want to move forward with releasing any further credible evidence, they should do so. As to why they have or have not or will, you should ask the FBI about that.
Oh, she has nothing to say about it. That's fascinating. Also, anything that she finds credible is not something the rest of us should find credible. Of course, Leavitt's deflection didn't stop there. In a fit of what we can only consider now as Donald's signature brand of pettiness, she also announced that the Wall Street Journal is barred from the press pool covering Donald's upcoming trip to Scotland. Just as a very quick aside, I am so sorry, Scotland. I love you, and I apologize. So banning the Wall Street Journal is blatant retaliation for a report it published about just a lewd drawing, let's say allegedly, okay, because we haven't seen it yet, about a lewd drawing Donald allegedly gifted Epstein for his birthday. Now look, first of all, the most important thing here is that the Wall Street Journal's First Amendment rights are being violated by its own government. That's problematic. Remember, they did the same thing to the Associated Press because the Associated Press had the audacity to continue calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Mexico because Donald decided he wanted to call it something else. So that is the most important thing. What about the card, though? Again, this was for Epstein's birthday, his 50th birthday, for which the convicted criminal Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, co-conspirator, and a better of sex trafficking, put together a birthday album for him and asked people like Donald to contribute to it. And yeah, so the card Donald allegedly sent is suggestive, and it's implies certain things, perhaps. And I have no reason to doubt that it exists, because the Wall Street Journal would not have published it otherwise, but we have yet to see it. In the grand scheme of the horrors Donald Trump has committed over his lifetime, it's nothing. I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing we would expect a misogynist like him to send to a fellow misogynist. It's not illegal. It's not even obscene. It's tasteless, for sure, but it's not actionable in any way. So why is this setting off such a firestorm? And here's the thing. I don't even know. Nobody who hasn't seen these files knows if Donald Trump has been, or ever will be implicated in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Hopefully we'll find out. We should. You would think he would want us to, if he's not guilty of anything. But there's another potential possibility as well. Donald has spent his entire life protecting himself and the rest of the world from figuring out what a desperate loser he is. He has spent enormous amounts of psychic energy protecting himself and the rest of the world from the knowledge that he is absolutely nothing of what he and others have claimed him to be. So, this card could just be the first of many things that he just finds deeply humiliating. It could be that we just find out more things about him that completely undercut his image as a virile tough guy. I won't spell it out any more than that, but you probably can imagine the kinds of things that a man like Donald would find devastating on a psychological level if they were made public. Here's the thing, though, because he only has one playbook. Lie. Well, it's a playbook that includes three things: lie, blame everybody else, and sue. But it isn't working, because the more desperately Donald tries to change the subject, avert attention, evade, the bigger this thing gets. Now, the week's barely started, and Donald already has a courtroom crisis, a constitutional crisis, and now a campus crisis to deal with. Those are a lot of crises. Let's take a look at this.
The battle between Harvard University and the Trump administration is heating up. The Ivy League school taking the government to federal court, arguing it was an illegal and unconstitutional move when the White House cut $2.6 billion in federal research funding to the university back in April, saying the university hasn't done enough to address anti-Semitism on campus. Harvard officials say that's not true. Today in court, lawyers for the government asking the judge to dismiss the case, saying Harvard should have read the fine print, arguing the language in grant contracts allows termination if a university's actions don't align with government priorities like combating anti-Semitism. Earlier this year, Harvard rejected a list of White House demands, including overhauling hiring and admission practices, demanding the school make it merit-based, the university saying those demands would undermine its independence. Since taking office in January, Trump has cracked down on top U.S. universities, demanding they dismantle their DEI programs. The president also accusing the schools of mishandling last year's pro-Palestinian protests and allowing anti-Semitism to fester on campuses.
Today, federal court, Donald's latest attack on academic freedom was met with serious skepticism because, of course it was. This is clearly all pretense. During a 10-2-hour hearing, U.S. District Judge Allison Burrs repeatedly challenged the Trump regime's logic in trying to strip billions in research funding from Harvard University. She questioned how any of this related to alleged civil rights violations against Jewish students and openly expressed concern that the move by the Department of Justice might be a constitutional overreach, suggesting, quote, there were potentially staggering, unquote, constitutional consequences if the government could punish a university without due process. This as reported by the New York Times. Now, there is a lot at stake here, and most obviously it is Harvard's funding. But truly, the most important thing at stake is the future of intellectual freedom in this country. And that includes many things. So, what do we do if a president has the power to punish a university for not falling in line, regardless of what that line is? Because the charges of anti-Semitism in this case are a ruse. They are a fabricated excuse to go after an institution of higher learning. And of course, it hasn't just been Harvard. It's been Columbia. It's been many other universities. Harvard just happens to be one of the most prominent that, unlike Columbia, has not folded to Donald's demands. And there's another extraordinarily significant issue on the line as well. And that is the future of this country as a the future of this country's ability to lead the world in scientific research and innovation. We are losing brilliant people to other countries because of this kind of thing and because of the immigration issues. We are losing our ability to lead in a context in which we always have since the end of World War II. And if we continue down this path and Donald Trump continues to get more and more power, then it will take us generations to get back to where we were before he got back into office on January 20th, 2025. There's no ruling yet, but if the hearing is a harbinger of anything, Harvard's case seems to be holding up and the government's logic is unraveling because, well, the lawyers who are, in positions of authority at the DOJ don't know what they're doing. Any lawyer left at the DOJ who is willing to carry water for the Trump regime isn't a very good one. As usual, Donald is balancing several lawsuits against him at once, which seems only fair because he's balancing dozens of lawsuits he's brought against other people. Here's some breaking news today from the New York Times. 21 states are suing Donald and the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services, Labor, Education, and Justice for their egregious attempts to restrict immigrants' access to federal programs. New York's Attorney General Letitia James, New York badass, is leading the charge in response to several federal agencies announcing earlier this month that they would no longer allow unauthorized immigrants to benefit from health and education programs, including ones like Head Start, which is an early education program for low-income children. But this change is easier said than done because the states suing say that the changes the administration want are causing a significant disruption to these programs, with providers unable to verify the citizenship status of all recipients. This is not, in other words, sadly, there are some people who don't care if this only affects immigrants, and to which I say, shame on you. But because of the ways in which this is being carried out, or they're attempting to carry out, this is not just going to affect immigrants. States emphasize that this could result in the, quote, collapse of some of the nation's most vital public programs, unquote, and could also cause some non-immigrant citizens to be denied benefits if they lack government-issued identification. This could affect unhoused Americans who don't have a valid ID, or even Americans born in rural places lacking the proper forms of identification. Also, IDs are expensive. Not everybody can afford to go down to the DMV, wait hours online potentially, and pay whatever it is to get a license renewed or to get a license in the first place. I lost my Social Security card when I was in college. It's free to get it, but I don't know. I just never did. The only reason I have a Social Security card is because I needed one to get my real ID. So people don't necessarily have the proper identification for anything that the Republicans are requiring of them, including voting in many states now. Here's the problem. I mean, all of this is problematic, obviously, and I'm very glad that this 21 states are suing, though that's going to take a bit of time, isn't it? And that always seems to be part of the problem. It's that the Trump regime doesn't care if, in their view, real Americans are caught up in all of this and suffer because of it. While states fight for programs in their for these programs, a key piece of legislation opposing them is also under new scrutiny. This should come as no surprise because, as we all know, Donald's big abominable bill is horrific. Republicans in Congress knew it even as they voted for it. Donald's closest allies know it. But a new report out today from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office shows that the bill is even more abominable than first thought. According to CBO's estimates, the bill will add $3.394 trillion to the nation's deficits from 2025 to 2034. This is a significant uptick from the original $2.4 trillion quoted fairly recently. Yes, significant uptick. I think that's more than 30%, actually. I have COVID brain, so I'm not sure if I can do my basic arithmetic, but that's a lot of money. They estimate that the large majority of costs comes from the plan's tax provision. Okay, and this answers the question. The tax provisions are estimated by the CBO to decrease revenues by more than $4 trillion by 2034. Included in the bill is a reduction of corporate tax rate to 21% from 35%, on top of reductions of most individual income tax rates. This means that the wealthiest 1% will continue getting richer and richer, while at the same time, working class Americans will suffer because millions will lose their health care. In fact, the CBO estimated that the bill will lead to an additional 10 million people no longer having health insurance by 2034. But Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is trying to pretend neither of these things is the case, doing what she does best, lying to the press. Take a look.
The Congressional Budget Office released updated estimates today about the big, beautiful bill now that it's law. They estimate that the deficit will grow by $3.4 trillion by 2034 and that 10 million people will lose health coverage by 2034. I know you guys are critical of the CBO. More broadly speaking, is there any concern from the administration that this bill, now that it's law, will increase the deficit in any way or remove anyone from health insurance that they have legal citizens?
No, look, this bill was a great bill for the American people. It was the largest tax cut for middle and working class families in our nation's history. And the president wants to see this country get our fiscal house in order. That's why this was a fiscally responsible bill, one of the most fiscally conservative pieces of legislation for its size that has ever crossed through Capitol Hill.
Yeah, all right. Everything she says is a lie. And it's worth pointing that out, but I'm heartily sick of it. No matter how much she and others want to pretend this isn't the case, this bill is wildly financially irresponsible. And it completely screws over working class Americans while making corporations and the extremely, extremely wealthy wealthier and increasing the wealth gap in this country, which is very dangerous to our democracy and our social fabric. But what is the question that has been answered by knowing all of this? Well, we now know why Republicans voted for it, even though they know how much damage it's going to do. We know why some of Donald's closest allies are all in, because they're all going to benefit, even though the rest of us are going to suffer. Because that is the hallmark of the Trump regime. And that includes everybody from Donald Trump on down. All right, I made it. We made it. Sorry, my voice is scratchy. I apologize. I know it's annoying. It's time. Breathe. Lower your heart rate. Lower your temperature if it's too high. It is time for some emotional support moment. And it's one of my favorite kinds. Amid the thousands of islands that make up Indonesia, there's a secluded natural haven, which is home to an astonishing array of marine life. It's the most biodiverse ecosystem on the planet. So for today's emotional support moment, let's dive into the wonders of the Indo-Pacific coral reefs. Yeah, that helps, doesn't it? I kind of want to be there. Not right this second, but soon. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna cut it short, a little short tonight. I apologize. But I'm on the mend, and I will be better, which is to say, conscious soon. But I did want to hang on one second. I'm having a lot of trouble for some reason scrolling, which is making it difficult. Sorry, guys. Give me a sec. Wow, this is really weird. All right, I'm going to try to make this work. Clearly, my brain isn't working, but neither is my cursor for some reason. Okay. Jimmy, wow. My fever just spiked again. That is so kind of you. We really, truly appreciate it. It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. All right. I just solved the cursor problem, and I'm still a little speechless, so thank you. Midas Cheryl gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you, as always. Midas Cheryl, you rock. That's awesome. Sorry, guys. Just want to make sure I'm not repeating myself. Cindy, thank you so much, as always. Our awesome super sticker. Joanne, another super sticker. That's fantastic, Joanne. Very, very kind of you. Thank you. Edie, a new member, welcome. It is so great to have you here. Robin, another awesome super sticker. Thank you very much for that. Jose, a new member, welcome. That is awesome. Susan gifted 5 Marriage on Me memberships. Thank you so much, Susan. That is phenomenal. Truly appreciate it as always. Pamela, another fantastic super sticker. Thank you, Pamela. Nanner is a member for 2 months. Thank you so much, Nanner. Comment, go get some rest. Executive order. Wow. Did those actually mean anything? Well, it's coming from you. So, okay. Ohms gifted 1 Married Trump Media membership. Ohms, thank you. That's wonderful. Francis gifted 1 Married Trump Media membership. Thank you. Sorry, Francie. Thank you so much. That's great. I'm a Pip, a super sticker. Thank you so very much for that. It's very generous of you. And we got one more. Jimmy, you are blowing my mind here. Thank you so much. I seriously, it's just incredibly kind of you. And we all appreciate it. Beyond words, honestly. So thank you. Okay. Whew. Thank you for your patience, for hanging in there. To everybody who's watching and streaming and doing all of those things, to everybody who's a new member, to everybody who gifted memberships, to all of our super stickers, everybody giving gifts. Seriously, we couldn't do it without you. We wouldn't do it without you. And because of you, we are this close, at least last I checked, to being at 440,000 subscribers. This close. So again, the easiest way to support us is to become a subscriber to the channel. It's free. Gives you access to all of the videos we publish on our website. The second best way and easiest way, not best way, but the easiest way is to just watch our pre-recorded videos, which we, at least 2 drop every day, even on the weekends. Like them, share them, comment on them. That helps us tremendously with YouTube. And check out our paid memberships on our home page on the YouTube channel. Just look under subscriptions and you'll be able to see. Speaking of which, one of the membership levels includes a monthly book club that is meeting, I believe it's Thursday, July 31st. I think right after the live at 7 p.m. Eastern. The book, it's a banned book club. The book we're reading is Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. So if you'd like to join us for that, please check out the memberships. And, as always, want to thank our amazing moderators. And tonight, in particular, I'd love to take a moment and thank Deb in particular for just being such an integral part of our moderating team. And I hope you, Deb, were able to take some rest, enjoy the show. But again, we appreciate everything you and the rest of our moderators do, because thanks to you guys, we have this incredible community that is vital and uplifting and kind. So thank you for that. And of course, to my amazing team, and they all continue to roll with whatever I throw them, being it whether it's ridiculous travel schedule or COVID. So thanks, guys. I truly, truly appreciate it. All right. I think it's Monday. Kind of losing track of time a little bit, but I will see you all back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern for the next episode of Barry Trump Live, and that's Monday through Friday, every night at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe, wear a mask, get your booster, and be kind. See ya.